All right, welcome back everybody to episode of City Skyline. I think we're on episode 3 now. In this episode, we're going to do some pretty substantial expansions. Right here, I'm just working on getting which train station I want. I ended up working with this terminus station that I really like. I've used it in other cities. It looks really good. It's a good kind of low-key station. I'm not really going to focus on trains too much, but I mean, most older towns in America have some sort of train station, whether it's used or not. At least they had one at one point. Because that's usually what kind of built the town. So I'm kind of working on that, and then I kind of worked on the tracks. I don't know if it's this episode, but I think maybe the next one I go back and kind of rework those tracks, because you'll see in a minute there'll be two separate intersections that I created, which it's all right, but I know it's going to cause traffic issues. And then on top of it, it really didn't look that good. And I think what I redid looked a lot better. So I kind of went over this intersection here, and it just kind of made it super wide, and just kind of it looked a little out of place. So we will go back and fix that. But doing this kind of started. I think in the next episode will be the railroad revolution in this town, and it kind of gives some depth to the industry area, which I think turned out really good. But we'll see when we go back and edit that. It may be part of this episode. It just depends on how long things get. But in general, we are just kind of doing a mass expansion right now. It's probably, I think after this episode and the next one, we're probably going to be about doubled population-wise. And we do some traffic mitigation and stuff, but honestly, the traffic isn't too bad. I mean, it gets a little rough around rush hour. But for a city like this, most people can walk, and most people can get around without the car, except for when they go across the river, because there's no sidewalks. So we will be working on that river crossing eventually as well. But yeah, in this, we just here we go. We just lay down this massive amount of residential. I kind of left that area by the road for now. We'll come back and fill that in. We may put some commercial in there, some offices. I don't know yet. I wasn't really too sure what was going to go on with that train station, what was going to go on with that road. So I just kind of, took it easy for now. But over here, I just kind of found a few factories that I really liked and really enjoyed. I found this one, and I was like, oh, actually, this would look really good if they were kind of next to each other. And I think it looked really good. And then once we add the train tracks in, it looks phenomenal, I think. So in general, I think this industrial area is coming along pretty well. It's going to hit about the point where I don't want to add any more to it, because you don't want to keep your industrial centralized. You will have traffic like you won't believe. So kind of spreading out. That's why I kind of started going across the river as well. It's just kind of hopefully lessen the traffic. It's all connected to this main road right now, which, even if I put it across the river like I did, it's really not going to help that much. But yeah, so I really like how this city's taken form. We're definitely going to be messing with the grid a little bit more. Here I actually connect the train out to the edge of the map. But yeah, like I said, we will be working on, it'll still be a grid, but we're going to kind of, transition into a different type of grid, just kind of give the city some depth. Maybe that's the point when a new architect came in or something like that. And also, the landscape kind of changed a little bit as well. So I'm really happy with how the city's turning out. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it here for now. Go ahead and kind of see how everything shapes out. I built this little highway by the road. So yeah, I'm going to go and leave you here now. I'm going to put on some music, and we'll see how this goes. And I may combine some of the stuff that I was going to put in the next episode into this one. And if I do, I will come back on, and we'll kind of go over some of that. Okay, so here we begin with what was I planning to be the next episode, but I realized that this was only 6 minutes long, so I wanted to add this on here because this kind of works with what I was doing before. But just kind of a quick overview of what we're doing here. We're moving the wastewater treatment plant from outside the city to more of the utilities area where the power plant was, which was on fire earlier, which wasn't a good thing. If you saw that, I put a little fire station there just to get that over with. But here's where I rebuild these tracks. I do a nice little job here. I started by doing the little Y junction right from the road, but it made this weird transition for the tracks on the road, which I don't think you normally would see, and I feel like that would be a really bad idea, and it just doesn't look right. So I ended up redoing it again, extending the track down just a little bit past the road, and then starting the Y, which made it a little bit more of a compact Y than I would have liked for this transition, but in the end it worked, and I think it looks pretty good, so pretty happy with how that turns out. And we could always adjust that later. We might have to like bridge over it with the road or something if traffic gets too bad, and at that point we could always, kind of readjust how that intersection or that transition looks on that rail. Here I kind of was messing with the railroad quite a bit. You're going to see it kind of redone probably a few times here, but I want to kind of leave it in there so you kind of can see how the whole process kind of worked. I started with this, which I think looked pretty good, but I didn't want to build a full Y intersection here, and then I kind of wanted it to look like there was an old track that kind of diverted around the town and up over the river. Honestly, I think it could use a little bit of work. But in the end, I think it turned out pretty well. We kind of had a little bit of a rail yard. We have some of these tracks that go up to these buildings. I think it really kind of sets the tone for this area, and then it gives us a nice hard transition for where we want the industry to end. It's like, here is where the tracks is. The industry can go up to the tracks. Beyond this, it makes sense to be something else. It could have been industry beyond it. There's a road that we're eventually going to build over the tracks, but it's like, that kind of makes sense. It looks right. It looks good. I really am happy with it. Also in this episode, we build a new bypass road around the city, so we connect to the main highway coming in the city, far out of the city, and then it comes along these new tracks, which I think turned out really well, and it's going to really help with the truck traffic where it doesn't have to go through the middle of the city, and that's really going to help once we get the full connection done. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. I just kind of wanted to give a brief explanation of kind of what's going on. Here you can kind of see me, I built at an angle, and I'm like trying to figure out how to line this up, with the river and everything like that. I ended up building two separate bridges, which I think looked interesting because one was a single track, one was a dual track bridge. And I think in the end it looked good. Like, this looked terrible. I was like, what is going on here? I didn't want to create another Y junction right next to that other one for the passenger rail. We may remove those other tracks at some point and actually turn the station so that it's facing these new tracks we're putting in. That may be something I experiment with because I don't know. It was okay, but it never looked quite right. I got it to look pretty good, but it's still, in the end, it just never looked quite right. So I'm going to go and leave it here with some music, and that'll be pretty much the episode after this. And if you have any suggestions or comments, leave those in the comments down below. And if you like the video, hit the like button, and don't forget to subscribe, and I'm going to leave you here with some music.